Hola, and welcome everyone to Let's Eat, celebrating the Day of the Dead with food as a part of our Community Day. My name is Dara Dwayne, and I am the coordinator of community engagement here at the Newark Museum of Art. And I'm super excited today to be joined by Chef Leticia Schwartz to learn some recipes that we may be able to make to celebrate this special day. So gather around the computer with all of your family and friends, and maybe grab some of the ingredients so you can join along with us. First and foremost, welcome, Leticia. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys? It's a great day to get cooking in this rainy, gray day.
I would agree. I would totally agree. The weather here in the northeast is kind of yucky outside, so it's the perfect day to cook and maybe make some comfort food while we celebrate the Day of the Dead. So I know for me, I've been enjoying the festival thus far. For all of you who are joining us or just joining us for this specific segment, we've been having a huge festival celebrating the Day of the Dead throughout the day. So there are lots of other things happening throughout the day, and this cooking segment is sort of I think it's the crown in our cap, or the feather in our cap, for lack of better words, because I love to eat, and I don't know how many of our viewers love to eat, but I love to eat and I love a great cocktail. So if you've seen any of my segments, I'm going to be always centered around food and drinking. So for me, this is a treat, Leticia. I'm so excited. And then today, I guess if you want to tell the audience a little bit about what we'll be making, and maybe some of the ingredients and things they may need to be able to make the dishes.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're celebrating Dia de los Muertos. We're going to do a Mexican inspired cooking dishes. So we're going to do chicken with mole. And we wanted to do pan de los muertos, which is a typical pan dulce, or like a sweet bread that we celebrate during the Dia de los Muertos, but it takes a lot of time to proof the bread. So we're going to do something inspired, which is a bread pudding using dulce de leche, which is another wonderful Mexican ingredient that we have. So yeah, I'm super excited. And these recipes are part of my cookbooks. I am the author of 3 cookbooks. I have the Brazilian Kitchen, My Rio de Janeiro, and Latin Super. Wait, did
Yes,
we do it?
yes. So we have the cookbooks on the screen now, so that for those viewers who may be interested in purchasing your
Uh,
books, you can find those books, and here's the book titles for you to check out, and you can go online. Is there any specific website that they can purchase those books on, Leticia?
So they can go to my website, chefleticia.com, and the books are also available at Amazon or Barnes and Nobles.
Nice, nice. All right. So I guess go ahead and you can take us into what we will need to prepare our meal for today.
So today we're going to prepare the chicken
oh,
with mole. We need
York
chicken.
Museum of Art.
Yeah, I sent it to Lindsay.
Yeah,
Right. So we have the recipes.
that's
Yes.
chocolate. Oh, that's the chocolate one.
So this
Yes.
is
Yeah. Yeah. With the chocolate sauce. So we're going to use onions, garlic, tomatoes.
You don't have all this stuff.
Everybody good? Audio is good?
I think we are. Yeah, it was a feed coming in from one of the cameras, but I think we got it squared away now, so you're good to go.
Okay. So basically the mole sauce, my interpretation is that it's kind of like a tomato sauce with a lot of different things inside. Story has it that one nun in close to Pueblo in Mexico was gonna have a bishop, and she didn't know what she was going to prepare. So she put a bunch of things together, including chocolate. So yes, we do use chocolate or cocoa powder in the sauce. So that's one of the ingredients, along with raisins, and we finish with sesame seeds. And for our dulce de leche pudding, we have dulce de leche, of course, brioche or challah, one of those types of bread. You could use as well like a loaf bread, that would be fine too, as long as the bread holds together. But my favorite, is the brioche and the challah. And then we're gonna make like a custard and bake it.
Oh, nice.
So let me know when we're ready to start, guys.
Okay. Well, we have our list of ingredients for all of you who are at home up on the screen now. So if any of you want to follow along, capture a screenshot using your cell phone, or maybe capture the screenshot using your laptop or computer, depending on what you're watching on, and go ahead and gather those ingredients. So we're going to jump right into it. What are we starting with first, Leticia?
So we're going to jump around the menu. We're going to start by putting the chicken in the oven. I just have to brush some olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then we're going to jump to the dessert.
Ah, okay. So a little bit of prep before going to the other. Okay, I follow along.
So here we go. Here we have some chicken breast, skinless.
So are you marinating? So are you marinating it in, is that an olive oil that I'm seeing you?
Yeah, just olive oil, salt, and pepper.
Okay.
Very simple. So here, I like to season from the height so that it distributes evenly throughout the food.
See, I know sometimes I can be heavy-handed with my seasoning, so that's a tip that I'm going to have to implement in my cooking.
Yes, exactly. If you season in a very concentrated way, that's when it tends to get very heavy. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna place it in the oven. We're gonna roast it for about 30 minutes. So let me put this right here. And I'll actually use my little timer here so that I don't have to worry remembering this. Okay, there we go. Then we're gonna jump to the dessert right now. Let me just clean my area. This is something that I still carry from the days of working in restaurants. So I am originally from Brazil, and I came here 20-something years ago, and I went to the French Culinary Institute, which is now called the International Culinary Center. And one of the things that we learned over and over and over again is you clean as you go. All right.
I would agree that's very important. I had a question from one of our viewers, Leticia. Yes. They want to know, what temp do you have the oven set for?
I have the oven at 350.
Okay. And I'm imagining you would allow it to preheat prior to placing the chicken in, and then once it's ready, once it dings, we're ready to rock and roll?
Yes, very important to preheat the oven always. The other important, if I step out of the screen, it's just for 1 second, guys, because my sink is over there. Another thing that I like to do when cooking and baking is to bring all the ingredients to room temperature, including the chicken. I brought the chicken out of the fridge about, I would say 40 minutes ago. I cover, but it's always good to, to start with every ingredient at the same temperature. Nice. Okay, so we have over here in the pot, milk, heavy cream, and half of the sugar. Okay. At the same time, we have here egg yolks, the other half of the sugar, and a tiny pinch of salt. And we're going to bring that to a boil and mix this. And what we're going to do here is temper. So tempering is kind of like adding something that is really, really hot into the egg yolk. So we're going to add a little bit at a time. Let me get my ladle. And we also use the term temper for chocolate. It has to do with temperature, so that there's no contrast of temperatures.
Often I hear that word when we're in a museum setting, like when we're working with glass. We may have to temper the glass if we're doing some type of art work with the glass.
That's a good one, temper the glass. I love that. Okay, so I mix my egg yolks. In the meantime, while we have our milk and heavy cream heating up, I am going to prepare my baking pan. I have here, I greased lightly. It's a 7x11 baking pan. And I cut the brioche ahead of time, and I'm going to just lay them on the baking pan. This goes here. So you want to have, you know, like a even layer on the bottom. And let me mix just a little bit of this guy over here. So I see that my dairy, my cream is hot enough. So at this point, I'm going to add a little bit and whisk at the same time. That's my tempering. There you go. And then we can add the rest of it. Whoa, this looks pretty.
I would agree.
This is so delicious. It's one of those desserts, like you can do a million things with it. Then we're going to add to this hot custard, Dulce de Leche. Ay, ay, ay. It's pure indulgence here.
I'm a little sad I'm not close enough to get a plate. it looks delicious. You're only halfway through it.
Right? That's the thing about virtual cooking. I guess it's the same with TV, right? Can you smell and eat through the screen?
Often I'm inspired, like when I watch cooking segments on TV, I'm like, just like now, the way it looks so good that I'm like, I gotta try it. I gotta figure out how I'm going to recreate this at home. So oftentimes I'm inspired by seeing other chefs do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Food is such a communal thing and bringing people together. You know, I often, when I think about food, I think about family. So I know for me, food has always been a big deal around me and my family. We have a couple of your questions about the sugar amount. So how much sugar should you add to this dish as you were mixing it earlier?
So I added 3 tablespoons of sugar into the milk and cream and 3 tablespoons of sugar to the egg yolks. In reality, if you want, so 6 altogether, if you want to cut down the sugar, you can. And the other thing is, like, I would cut down to, if you want to add 2 and 2, that's fine. The other thing is, if you want to change the sugar and use like organic cane sugar, or you can try it with brown sugar, it also works.
Okay. One of our viewers wants to also know, is there a particular brand of Leche de Leche that you prefer?
The brand of what?
De Leche that you prefer.
Yes. So this brand, give me 1 second. Today I'm using this brand here, which is called Los Nietitos. I bought at a Latin store, and this one is from Uruguay. There are other brands out there. There is Sant Ignacio from Argentina. There is Nestle, which is, I actually developed this recipe with the Nestle brand. So I think any dulce de leche that you like to eat is, you know, good enough to cook. Yeah, and there's actually a little bit of, you know, there's all that. I'm gonna talk and add cinnamon and nutmeg and rum. But I was gonna say that there's always a little bit of like a friendly rivalry between Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, because we all claim that we came up with dulce de leche, you know? And every time that I travel, like to Brazil, there is a part of Brazil in Minas Gerais, which is in the heart of the country.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like our dairy, state, almost like Wisconsin here. And we kind of like, we claim, no, this is the best in the world. And then Uruguay is like, no, we have the best in the world. It's all good. As long as it's dulce de leche, right?
If you're going to be competitive, why not desserts? They give.
Why not?
I'm like, a food tour sounds perfect, a perfect way of being able to settle the debate for me. So it sounds like I'm having a few places I need to visit and just try the dash de la leche to see how it compares.
I agree. I think that's a great idea. I want to see food. I think that actually food is a way of, celebrate even politics. There's so much behind food that can be considered politics. And food is entertaining, and food is health, and food is, food is so many things. Food is social justice.
Yeah.
Food is history. Food is love, right? It's a million things.
Interestingly enough, a few of our viewers actually typed in our chat that food is love, so they totally agreed. You must be on the same wavelength there.
I agree. I think so too. Give me 1 second. I'm just stepping out to wash my hands, and here we are. So once we have the bread with all of the custard, if I had the time, I would let it sit for a few minutes, like maybe 10 minutes, just to give the chance for the bread to soak up all of this custard. We don't have this time today on our cooking class, so it's going to go straight in the oven. There are things that we do in a cooking class that it's just have to be a little bit more rushed.
Now you do have a question from one of our viewers. They want to know, is there anything they can do to substitute for the rum if they don't have any?
You don't need to use rum. You can leave it out. Rum is really the kind of like a distilled liquor from the molasses of sugar cane. You could use cachaça if you want to get even bit of a kick. And keep it in the same, theme using sugar cane.
Mm-hmm.
But you can even use, another like frangelico if you want to use another liquor, or you can skip the alcohol altogether.
Okay, so it's not necessarily essential.
No,
okay.
No.
And there are a few questions in regards to the cinnamon and the cinnamon and sugar and the nutmeg. I'm sorry, it's not the sugar, the cinnamon and nutmeg. They wanted to know roughly about how much. What was the amount of that they should add?
So I put about a quarter of a teaspoon of cinnamon and about even less than of the ground nutmeg.
Gotcha. And just for our viewers, can you remind them really quickly what we're in the process of making? For those who tuned in late, we want to make sure that everybody stays in the loop.
Say again, Daryl, sorry about that.
No worries. I was saying that for our viewers, one more time, could you remind our viewers what we're making or what we're in the process of making for those who may have arrived late to our live feed?
Yes, absolutely. If you have just tuned in, we are celebrating Día de los Muertos with a chicken and a mole sauce that we're gonna start making right now. And we just prepared a dulce de leche pudding. So we have the recipe on our website. And we are now ready to start with the mole sauce.
Yes,
Is that right? Can we jump on that?
Yes, let's go for it. I'm here for it. Let's do
it. Yeah, so if you just tune in, no worry. You have time to catch up.
Mm-hmm. And the awesome thing is this will live on our Facebook page at the end. So if you caught in or jumped in the middle, you can always go back to the beginning and watch it from the beginning and follow along with Chef Leticia today. So this recipe, it'll be there for you to, dip into for those family gatherings that we know are coming up outside of Day of the Dead as the winter and I guess you say holiday season is approaching.
Yes, a lot of good cooking. In fact, this dulce de leche pudding is perfect for Thanksgiving. It's
Wow.
something that's different. It's
Mhm.
not your typical, over and over again, we have the same recipe. So how about that? It's very warm, and it goes with the weather, the spices, nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice. You can
Yeah.
do allspice too. So yeah, I think it's a great addition,
Yeah.
as well as the mole sauce. I have to say, if you have turkey left over for
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, make this mole sauce. It is so easy to prepare. In fact, I have to say, I'll talk and cook. I'll just add the garlic as we go along here.
Mhm.
Um, I was gonna say that the mole sauce is kind of like there is a certain intimidation around this sauce. It's usually considered like to be very elaborate and very difficult with a lot of ingredients. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do with this recipe.
Okay.
This one is part of my Latin superfoods cookbook, and you can do it with turkey, you can do it with chicken, you can do it with pork. Um, and the variations are endless. You'll see a million, ways of doing mole. And I wanted to make sure that the recipe is kitchen friendly,
Yeah.
so everything that we're going to do is, just what we have here. We're going to cook garlic, onions, and all of these ingredients in a very simple manner. I think that it has this stigma that mole sauce is very complicated and you need to, roast the chiles from the start. So for that, we're going to use just simple chili powder.
Okay.
Now, notice, guys, that I am actually starting with the garlic, and I am browning the garlic until it's just blonde. And now I'm going to add my onions and mix that up, which is kind of interesting because I have to say, as a chef, when I went to cooking school,
Mhm.
one of the things that I learned was that you never start with the garlic. You always want to start with the onions. But then when I started to do research with recipes for my cookbooks, I realized that in Brazil, none of the cooks, they follow this rule. We always start with the garlic
Mhm.
and then we add the onions. And notice how once you add the onions, it's almost like the garlic doesn't burn anymore, you
Oh.
know?
I,
The,
I cook with garlic often, and I often just sort of, and maybe this is where I've been going wrong. I just dump everything in there at the same time. But I see you're absolutely correct. It seems to like sort of slow down the browning process of the garlic, which is really cool.
exactly. Once you add the onions, the garlic will not burn. The other thing that I want to point out that I love to do is I like to season things in layers. So rather than waiting until the recipe is completely finished and cooked, every time I add an ingredient, I add a little bit of a seasoning. I think that layering the seasoning and adding salt and pepper from the very beginning
Mhm.
is super important.
Yeah, and I think it also helps you to sort of test run or test taste as you go along. If you are layering the seasoning, you don't have that opportunity to over season because you're doing it in stages.
I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point. I feel that there's a certain depth of flavor
Mhm.
that goes with this practice that I always season as soon as I start cooking. So now we're going to add the tomatoes.
And just so our viewers at home, if you are curious about her website, so that you can definitely purchase her cookbook, but also follow along with any other lives she may have happening throughout the course of this year and beyond. Her website is www.chefleticia.com. So make sure to check that out if you are wanting to follow along with our chef after this program.
Yeah. So we have our tomatoes, and then I season again with salt and pepper. And then we are going to add the rest of our ingredients. A little bit of rosemary, cocoa powder,
Thanks.
nutmeg and cinnamon, chili powder. And again, the chili powder, feel free to calibrate to your own liking. In my family, now that my kids are kind of like upper teenagers, they can appreciate this type of cooking a little more. When they were young, when they were like 4 and 6, I could not serve them, you know, anything that had a little bit of spice.
Definitely one of the perks to growing up is your palate does become more cultivated. You're absolutely correct. Little ones typically like simpler flavored food, but yeah, as we get older, I mean, there's a lot of perks to getting older, but there's also some drawbacks. But definitely having an increased wide assortment of or better taste, better. I can't even get my words together. A better sense of palate or being able to taste your food is one of the perks.
For sure. I totally agree with that, Daryl. So guys, can you see what I have inside the pot? Look how beautiful this is.
It is gorgeous. It looks like it smells even better. I'm imagining the rosemary now.
That smell is so good. So now that we have this cooking, I am going to add the chicken stock.
Okay.
And we're going to cover and let it cook for just a few minutes.
All right.
Let me cover with this pan over here. And then we're gonna blend it. I'm gonna take the rosemary out and blend it. Can I continue cooking in this induction top, Dean, or do you think that I should move here? I'm okay. I'm just worried about the smoke alarm in my kitchen. Every now and then we have, you know, okay, so we got to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm going to take all of my ingredients out of stream. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll use this time to remind our viewers that we do have some cool things happening on our Instagram as well in celebration of the Day of the Dead. We have a cool La Katrina skull inspired hologram, or I should say Instagram as I'm losing the word for it at this moment, but basically filter, there we go, Instagram filter that you can use as part of our celebration. And we would encourage you to not only use the filter, but also to add us and post us in your stories, and make sure to share on your timelines as we are all celebrating the Day of the Dead.
There you go. And I have to say, this is I think we mentioned this, but I am so happy to be celebrating with Newark Museum. This is probably my 4th year, I think. So every year it's we're cooking together. So thank you so much for joining us.
And we appreciate having you here with us. A few of our viewers had a question about the last 3 ingredients you added right before the chicken stock. So if you could just share really quickly what those ingredients were, and maybe what the measurements for those ingredients were.
Yes, of course. So I added, let me even get to the recipe. I added raisins, about ½ a cup. I added the dark raisins, but feel free to add the blonde as well. I added 2 tablespoons of creamy peanut butter, and I added 1/4 cup of fresh orange juice. So all that cooking together, let's take a peek. Ooh la la, look at that. It's so good. The smell is amazing. Now, if you don't have chicken stock, I mean, there is so much flavor in this sauce that you could even use water. But I'm kind of like one of the fierce advocates for chicken stock and fish stock and shrimp stock and making your own stock at home. So every time that I roast the chicken, I never throw the bones away. I just put it in a pan, add, you know, sometimes I'm even lazy to add onions and carrots and celery, and I just, you know, add cold water and make a stock, you know, and that's how easy it is. I think that it's really one of those ingredients that make a difference in the home cooking. You know how so many people ask, oh, why does restaurant cooking taste so much better than home cooking? In my opinion, chicken stock, beef stock, stock in general is really one of the, you know, essentials of restaurant cooking. So if you have the chance, I highly encourage you to.
Now I hear that using stocks also help to limit the amount of salt you would need for flavoring. Is that correct, or am I, or was I mistold?
Well, it depends on. I think that especially when you make your own stock, usually the canned stock or the box stock, it has a lot of sodium in it. You know, so I think that whenever you have the chance to season your own food is so much better than using ingredients that are, you know, already seasoned.
Okay. Healthy life. You got to remember that.
Exactly. Which, by the way, I have to say, another advocate. I love to make stock, but I love to make brodo. So what is the difference between brodo and stock? Pretty much there's a very fine line. When I make brodo, instead of just making the stock, I season the brodo and I cook it just a little bit more so that the consistency of the liquid, it's a little bit thicker so that there's more collagen, you know, but it's a very, very fine line.
Yeah.
You know, but pretty much the brodo is so healthy for you. And then I kind of like drink as, you know, sometimes I'll have chicken brodo for dinner.
I think, and just to remind an audience, I mean, as we're still facing this pandemic, anything we can do to sort of help ensure our health, you know, we want to be thoughtful about, we want to be mindful about. So I know I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for example, thank you. This is a peek into my freezer. You know, like I have tons of containers.
I love it.
Stock, October 2020, you know, lamb stock, beef brodo. So they're pretty much, you know, the same, but thank you for that. Thank you so much. All right, so now what we're going to do, let's remove this rosemary and let's blend our mole sauce. I want to make sure that I take just the rosemary. Okay, so that we'll discard. And whenever we have a blender, you want to make sure that you use it, you know, in batches. Here.
Now, why is it important to do it in batches for those of us cooks who may not be as experienced?
Well, you never want to explode your blender.
That does matter.
Exactly. You know, once it happened to me, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it in batches. I mean, you never want, like, you want to make sure that you put food in the blender, but that it has enough room in the machine to breathe and, you know, become a lot bigger. I think I should do it in 2 batches. So why don't we go here? Let me see. Maybe I can bring this guy over here and so that I stay in this camera. Yes.
Makes sense.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I always make sure whenever I use the blender that I kind of like press it down, you know. I guess it's a little bit traumatic to have it explode.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay?
So as you put the contents of that into your next step or put it into the next space, there are a couple of questions from the chat. We have one question. They want to know what is Brodo for the viewers who may be unaware.
What is brodo?
Yes.
So brodo is chicken stock or beef stock. Is a liquid in which you cook bones along with vegetables, and you cook it to a consistency that is, it's a liquid, but it has some thickness to it. You know, it's not the consistency of water. It's almost the consistency of, you know, of stock.
Okay.
You know,
It's
is
like
that
yeah, like a paste almost a little bit, right? A loose paste, sort of, for lack of better words.
please give me 1 second.
Sure, sure.
I just want to make sure that I have, yeah, here. It's more like, yeah, I would say it's more like a thick liquid, you know. But I don't know. I got into the habit of making it over and over because it's so good for you, and there's so much flavor that goes into it. And the whole cooking tastes very different when you use your own chicken stock and brodo. Okay, my
Timer is going off.
timer is going. So give me 1 second. That's our chicken and our baked pudding as well. 1 second, timer. Okay, so here we have, and let's check in the oven.
Sure.
Over here. Oh my God, this is looking so pretty. Okay, so look at our baked pudding.
Oh, that looks
Like
delicious.
golden. It's looking gorgeous.
Yes.
And our chicken.
And while we're pulling those items out, there are a couple of questions in reference to the blender. So one of our viewers wants to know, could you just use an immersion blender and blend in the pot? Is that something that's feasible?
Absolutely. Totally. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of love in this chat as well. They love your passion for cooking, Leticia. And they
Oh my
appreciate
God,
sharing
thank you everybody for being here, for tuning in, for asking questions, and feel free to get in touch, you know, to send questions to when you cook those recipes, and I hope you will. Snap a photo, send it to me, share it on Instagram. Let's be Insta pals. So yes, I am all for this engagement, and that's the joy of cooking. You know, I think that this is the reason why we do this, right? So let me just
yeah, go for it.
yeah, blend this guy just a little more. Okay. All right. So I need to be able to just move around my own kitchen. So I'm putting, no, there are wires all over. Okay. So we're going to put the sauce back into the pan. This is going out and this goes over here. Let's taste the sauce.
Okay.
And then I want to taste with you because we're actually close to like having both of them done. We can plate the chicken, and I
Nice.
want to show you how to do that.
Okay.
And we can also serve the pudding. The pudding, I mean, if anybody has ice cream at home, it would be great. You know, it can go with vanilla ice cream or coconut ice cream. I think those are great. Maybe even ginger ice cream.
Oh yeah, keep it in tone with the season. You're absolutely correct.
Why not?
It's
Mm.
delicious. It looks delicious.
Oh my God. This is so, so, so good. It is, I love this. This is, you know, why don't I make it more often? I need to make it. Oh my God, it is so good.
And now I love how our viewers are so helpful in breaking down the brodo as well. So a few comments from our chat. One of our viewers, Justine, says it's sort of like a thick gravy to sort of give us a comparison. One of our other viewers, Aldea, is saying that brodo versus stock would be similar to milk versus half and half, so that our viewers who are unfamiliar will have a better sense or context of what brodo is. And then one of our viewers was telling us that brodo is Italian for broth. So this is what makes this, again, cooking such a communal thing. We bring all of our world and global knowledge to the space, and we learn from one another.
Amen to that. And I agree. I think that that's a great comparison. The milk and heavy cream.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so why don't we plate our chicken? We have a beautiful plate. Why don't we can also cut the chicken? Well, we can even plate it here, but let me think here for 1 second. Let's cut the chicken because I think that that's kind of like the traditional way of doing. Yeah. So let's take like one or two there.
And as you plate the chicken, we have one more viewer question in regards to what if your day is super busy and you don't have time to prepare the chicken because it's a busy work day for you? Is it possible to use a pre-prepared rotisserie chicken in its place?
You make it possible.
You make
Yes, because you can carve out the breast from the rotisserie, and you can prepare this type of sauce. It can be prepared days ahead of time.
Okay.
Or even it freezes very, very well. So why not? You know, if you can prepare this ahead of time, have the rotisserie chicken and it's just that what I love about this recipe is that we always eat chicken in a way that is like blend and always the same thing, right? So I think that, you know, the mole sauce is something different to do with the chicken. I think, I don't know, everybody's so tired of chicken that I like to, you know, come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
So we just go like that. Then we take a little bit of our mole sauce. And we present it like that. And then we garnish with some sesame seeds. That's the traditional garnish for mole sauce. Look at this, guys.
It looks amazing. And as our time is winding down, I think we have like roughly about 7 more minutes before we have to sort of start bringing things to a close.
Yes.
Again, want to remind our viewers, you can watch this whole video in its entirety if you check back on our Facebook page. So if you came in late and you're just now capturing Chef Leticia plate this amazing dish, then you can always go back to the beginning on our Facebook page to watch it from the beginning. Oh, it looks delicious. I bet you it tastes delicious. Yes.
So good. Oh my God. You have to make this, guys. So good. I also want to taste with you the bread pudding.
All right.
Which ideally the bread pudding, you want to serve it warm. So at this point is going to be a little bit on the hot side. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring a trivet and here. And then what we do, here. Oh my God. Oh, this looks so, hold on, I just want to make sure, can I turn this to you? Can you see this? Which camera can you see it better? I want to make sure that you can see the.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect camera where you have the hot plate set up. Yep.
This one?
Yep, you can bring it on over to the hot plate to your left. There you go. Yes.
Look at that.
Perfection.
So good. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so yeah, a little bit of ice cream here. It's a good side. And then we just put it here. So again, it's going to be on the hot side. So make sure you leave it to rest a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then we eat. Oh my God. This is too good.
If you ever need an extra guest to come for the holidays, I am volunteering myself, and I swear I will wear a mask. So
everybody is invited.
And so one of our viewers wants to know, do you typically put a sauce on your bread pudding when you serve it, or is that an optional thing? Do you know, is it required, recommended? What would you suggest?
So look at the consistency. In my opinion, the custard is so moist already that you don't need a sauce.
Okay.
I would vote more for the ice cream because there's always this contrast between, you know, something warm or hot and then, you know, a cold ice cream. But if you have a sauce, I mean, it's not like it would be, you know, bad, but I don't know. I think that this recipe, it doesn't need a sauce. You know, there's so much moisture. Let me see if I can even let me see if I can show you the inside of, you see how it's so good and so moist. It really doesn't need one. Yeah.
It looks delicious.
Yeah. So let me know any more questions. I think that we actually got the 2 recipes on time.
Yes.
Right? If these recipes are included on my cookbooks, I am the proud mother of 3 cookbooks. The Brazilian Kitchen and my Rio de Janeiro, which by the way, the bread pudding is in this book, my Rio. That's my hometown. And my latest cookbook, which came out just recently, Latin superfoods. And the mole recipe, in this book, I make it with turkey, but it's so similar. The recipe, you can, again, you know, you can make it with turkey, with chicken, with pork, and, you know, it's so interchangeable. Yeah, so feel free to get in touch. Feel free to ask me questions or cook the recipes. My books are available on Amazon. If you have any suggestions for other recipes that you want to learn, get in touch as well. What else, Daryl?
We're good to go. I mean, you given us all of your social media platforms. Again, your website. So could you give us your Instagram really quickly? And then we'll bring everything to a close and tell the people what's in store for the rest of the day.
Yes, of course, absolutely. So my website is chefleticia.com. All of my social media can be found through my website. But if you want to write it down, there you go. My name is kind of like complicated, Leticia Morenos Schwartz. That's my Instagram handle. I am Chef Leticia on Twitter and Chef Leticia Healthy Cooking. Chef Leticia Healthy Cooking on Facebook. But you can find everything on my website. Yeah, chefleticia.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leticia. I hope all of you are watching at home on Facebook Live enjoyed our time together today. And I want you to make sure that you don't miss out on our next session, a dance performance by the Latin Ballet of Virginia. Shout out to Virginia, which is where I'm from. If you would like to join that event for or the rest of today's events, we're going to put the link in the chat. As well as our Facebook Live chat. You can find the link there. Our Community Day programs are made possible with the generous support of our funders. Thank you to Horizon Foundation for the New Jersey for their continued support for our family programs. Don't miss November 21st is Astro Fest, where we will be joined by the first African American astronaut in space, Mae Jameson. I'm misenunciating the name, and that's on me. Mae Jameson. You can learn more about that event if you click in our the link in our chat, along with going to the Facebook page of the Newark Museum of Art. You can find out more information about that. And of course, if you're enjoying our community day so far, we ask that you please consider donating to the Newark Museum of Art so we can continue to bring you this virtual program and more virtual programming like this throughout the year. So again, that link is in our chat. Again, Leticia, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you all for watching at home. My name is Darryl Dwayne, and we will continue on with the rest of our programming today. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.